Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to. If you're interested in creating more balance in your life, understanding your 5-element energetic nature, finding the path of greatest ease,
or releasing the baggage of this lifetime and discovering ancient alchemy that can help you fly in your life, join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical transformational journey.
Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. My name is Jay, and this is pod number 32. I'm here with my co-host, Lita Herman. How are you today, Lita?
I'm doing great, and I want to say welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, Inspired Actioneers. Woohoo! And how are you, Jay?
I am great. I'm having a great week. Everything's great. We have so many exciting projects that we're always talking about. Well, guess what? A few are coming to life.
Fruition.
Things are coming out. We're so excited. And we have a great, amazing year planned. So if you're listening to this like today, which I'm going to just say a hint, it's January 2019, we're in the present and we're here today and things are rocking.
Yes. And we have a lot coming out. We're going to be talking about on this podcast, some new projects that we're doing.
Woof. So go get a pad and a pen because we got lots to write down. No, you don't have to because we could just go to the show notes. You know the line, go to the show notes. But no, if you want to write things down, please do.
Yes. And today is pod 32 and we have a big pod planned. And why don't you explain today?
What's going to be pod 32? I know. Do you know?
Yes, I know.
Do you going to tell me? I think I know. I'm not sure.
Well, it's going to be
okay,
fun.
If I don't know and you know, but I know, but you don't know, but you know, then what are they going to get?
I don't know.
That's right.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Okay, so we're going to talk about strategy today, Alchemical Life Strategy.
Right.
So what does that mean to you, Lita?
Well, I'm hoping you will enlighten us. I have an idea, but I think you're better off explaining it to people.
Well, I do get a lot of questions about what I do, and I don't think there's a lot of people actually doing what I do, which I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but what I do is I explain it as, people know what a life coach is, and I don't like to call myself a life coach, and I don't like a guru like the old Tony Robbins things, but I think for me, I like to talk strategy. I'm a strategist. So what is a strategist? Someone who helps you find what you want to do. What's the blocking? What's the path? What's the strategy?
The action steps.
The action steps.
Yeah.
So, and I use the 5 elements, which we talk about a lot. I use the 9 palaces, which we talk about a lot. We talked about the ghost points. I think that's a big step for the people who do work with me. They go do that with you first. And alchemy. Right. So the stages of alchemy. So for me, it's like all mixed together. And it's just kind of like how people look at themselves and how they look at their lives.
And we know that there are a lot of healers, acupuncturists, qigong practitioners that are in our listening group. We have a lot of counselors in the mental health field that listen to this podcast. So we have a lot of people that are, working with individuals one-on-one like you do, Jay. And I was thinking today, there's probably a lot of listeners who want to set up their own strategies for their own lives.
Yeah. And
like a do-it-yourself kind of thing.
I think that's right. I was just going to say we can DIY it. So it's not the ideal thing, but it'll give you an idea. It'll start to have you thinking about things. And you could always find someone to help you. Like I always think that the top athletes in the world, the Tom Bradys and the Michael Phelps and, all the Tiger Woods, you'd think that they don't need coaches because they're at their best, right? They make it look easy. No, they have a whole fleet of coaches.
Yeah.
Because people need help. They need accountability. They need direction. They need guidance. And then they can just fly.
Right.
They can do what they need to do. And so that's how I look at it, what I do. So I help people strategize. We see the obstacles. We see the stories they're telling. We tear it apart. We look at it. And then they get a clearer vision. And they really do start to feel better.
So today is about all of this. And then before we get really started here, I just wanted us to go over a little bit of just the standard stuff that we have a Facebook group. If you're new to our podcast.
The Facebook group, it's growing. And we want to continue that to growth. We really want to put some more energy into that. I mean, we're doing a lot of different things and we love Facebook and we love the Facebook group. So let's just keep moving that along. If you want to join, we'd love to have you.
It's the Inspired Action Podcast page, and then there's a Facebook group associated with it.
Sure. So we have a private group. Is it private?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a private group, and we talk about all kinds of things. 5 elements, 9 palaces. I'll answer any questions if you want about coaching. If you're listening to this now, Lita can always answer questions about just about anything.
Yes, and I love answering them.
Yes.
And if you have a question, you can also email it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com. Or
Yeah,
no, we
for
have
the
questions
podcast.
now.
Questions
at
at
inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you use your question on the show, we will give you an Inspired Action t-shirt, which is awesome. It's fantastic. We love it. And I'm looking right now. I am not wearing one.
Yes, I'm not wearing one
But I
today.
did wear one all weekend.
But
So, okay, great. So that's all the good stuff.
and there's
we have
one more thing.
Okay, what?
We have some new stuff. So we're really excited to announce today that we're starting our Master Alchemy program
Yay.
in 2019.
This has been a long time in the making, and
Yes.
we've done so much work on this. And it's really, I think the website's up.
Yes.
And we're taking applications. We've already had quite a few people apply. So if you haven't heard this yet, then sorry, you're hearing it now.
Yes, and it's inspiredactionpodcast.com/MAP for Master Alchemy Program.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it at the end of this podcast. So
Hey, how about we
stick
do that
around.
instead of the audiobook this week?
That's what we'll do.
Okay, yay.
And we also have one more thing, Jay. We have an
What?
app now.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
app, the Inspired Action app in the house.
Yeah, and
so that's
I've been
like
listening
months
to it.
and months. I know I teased
a lot of
everyone
work.
that was making it for us that come on, but they did not get it ready for 2018, but it's here now, 2019.
Yes.
And that's going to also be growing as the year grows. We're going to add lots of content to it.
Yes.
And right now we have the meditations on it, and we have the free ones on there, and you can get the podcast on there. And then as this, we get used to using the app, we want to have extended bonuses from the podcast. We might have more questions that are not on the podcast that we put there. We're going to definitely have more meditations. We're going to have videos. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah, so it's going to grow, and you can go ahead now. We have at least one more meditation that people haven't heard before up already.
Yeah, and right now most of it or all of it is free.
All of it except the new bonus content, which at the moment is one meditation, but it's
Sure.
going to be growing.
And if you
very
go join
fast.
our Facebook group and you're interested, and maybe we'll have some promo codes or something.
Yeah.
So they could get it, or we'll just, I want the people who want it to get it. So, all right, great. So that's going to grow. I'm really excited. That was so much work. It took a long, long time. That stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
So if you're a young person and you're listening and you want to make a lot of money, go make apps for people.
Yeah,
Because
right.
the older people are like, what is that? That looks easy. The apps out there that you love, they look easy, but they're not. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So, okay. So let's go. I think that's it. Ready? Are we
Yeah,
ready?
so
So let's
let's-
talk some strategy.
Let's talk strategy.
And so, some of the things of the questions too, one more thing, if you have questions on the program, on the Master Alchemy program, which one of the tracks will be life strategy. So either
Yes.
you want to be, I'm going to use the word
that's a good
coach.
point. Well, we're going to explain it at the end, but there's 3 tracks.
3 tracks. So if this conversation today or the next few podcasts that you listen to strike you as interesting, then that might be something you want to talk about.
You might want to become a life strategist, and that's what this program will help you do.
Plus, I would say so far the people who have applied are healers, like acupuncturists and acupressurists. They're like going nuts, and self-cultivation.
Yes.
So
but
those
you
are-
have some
I
coach
definitely
people
have
too.
some strategists as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go. Let's get this going. And woohoo, I'm very, very excited. So what do you want to know about alchemy and life
Well,
strategy, Lita?
I mean, you call yourself an alchemical life strategist.
Yeah, I just kind of made that up because I just, it's what I do. I used to be a 5 element coach. I used to kind of explain that a little bit, and that was great. I did that for a while, but then I really started to work with the people that were doing alchemy, and we really applied the 9 palaces and the 5 elements, and boy, things just shifted a couple years ago, and things have been going so well. And I think that for
it's
me,
so much more powerful. What
yeah,
you're
it's so much
doing
more
now.
powerful, and it's really shifting in people's lives.
And I've been looking at a lot of the life coaches out there, and even the most dynamic, most amazing coaches that I see that are helping people with their life strategies, essentially, I don't think that they are working on the higher spiritual levels that you and I are working on in terms of alchemy. And so if you're developing a strategy in your life and you're not considering that
and I also might be the only one crazy enough to try to do this.
I think that's true.
So I like to have the body, the mind, the spirit, and then the balance of all of that.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are looking for balance, direction, presence. Those are all the things we're going to talk about today. So that's what it is. Life Alchemy Strategist. It's no mystery. It's just what I'm doing. And I'm, if you need to call me a coach, that's okay. I'm not going to don't call me a coach. But I always think we know what that means. And so that's a good way to reference it.
And I think that you really help people with what's holding them back in their lives.
Yeah, that could be energetically, that could be alchemically, that could just be obstacles, all the 9 palaces. And then there's also blocks like, road blocks and energetic blocks, like figuratively and
right. And I see how you work with people where it's mind-boggling almost. They come out sometimes like with a dazed look on their face.
Okay, that doesn't sound good, but actually...
But then they go and they actually do stuff they've never done before. It's like you spin them around and they look at some other angle of their lives they've never seen before.
Well, I do think I have a unique style. I like to compress time. Is that a good way of saying it?
Yeah. You pack a lot into a short period of time.
So the first session that I do with the person is usually 3 to 4 hours. We do take breaks, but we cover a lot. And I just ask a lot of questions.
You're very fast.
Very fast. I think I'm a fast thinker. I like to move the people along, but I really just match the energy that comes from the person who's in the room that I'm working with. So if they're really excited, then I'm really excited. If they're kind of slow, like on what they want to tell, then that's how I am. So I kind of mirror energetically of what they're doing. And but I like to get momentum going. We have to really, some of these people that I'm working with, haven't really focused on themselves for years. They've been carrying these burdens. They've been having these blocks. So it takes a little while. That's why 3 to 4 hours. And then I do a follow-up after that.
And because you know the 5 elements so well, you're able to help people, understand themselves energetically. And, we should mention again that there is a book that we wrote, Connecting Your Circle.
Yeah, I give it to a lot of people. It's like a primer. It's not really, heavily worded. You can we wrote it in a way that you could read it in a weekend and start to get your interest in the 5 elements. And then your goal is to, if you want to have a goal, you don't have to have a goal, but it is to learn all 5, how you can be all 5 at any time.
And what you do is you match each person energetically. That's what you were saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if anyone still wants a copy, you can go to the show notes. We still have that free online somewhere, right?
I think it's in episode 2.
Okay. Well, wow. That was a long time ago. 30 pods
2 or
ago.
3.
Let's put it in this one. Can you put it in this one?
We'll put it in again.
Okay. So pod
That's
32, Connecting Your Circle. And if you have any questions, I have a lot of people who ask questions after they take the book and read it. So we're giving that away for free. So if you're interested in more, but I do think, even people who come to me, they don't know their 5 elements all the time. They're like, I think
the first thing we have to figure
Lita
out.
said this, I'm not sure. So we have to, if you really want to move through a lot of these obstacles, we talk about what your elements could be.
And then I thought maybe we could start today, just as we go deeper into this. What do you think the number one thing people are trying to achieve when they come to see you?
Oh my gosh, there's no answer for that. Everyone is different, but I would say happy or happiness.
Yeah.
Love, but even that goes into a palace, but happy.
Yeah.
That's the first question I ask people. Are you happy?
Oh, wow.
And then based on what they say, then we continue. So I've had more than one person say, yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. Then I'm like, well, then why are you here? Go, you're done. Go away. Most people can't answer that. But then we start talking like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't mean that kind of happy. I'm like, well, what do you mean? It means that they have a happy outlook on life, but they're really stuck.
So what do they really want?
So what do they really want? That's the question. So what do they really want? A lot of people will then say, more. like more freedom, more money, more energy. They might have a lot of money, but they don't have spirituality, so they want more spirituality. They might want to have more peace.
Oh, peace is a big one.
Peace is a big one. More balance. I think balance is number
the
one.
biggest one, isn't it?
I think, especially for women.
Yeah.
Especially
Don't
for
we
women.
all want that?
Yeah, but I think I see more of Nine Palace wants in men that are different. But overall, I think as humans in this world right now, this fast-paced society, balance is definitely what goes out the window. So I think that's a key to many things, is balance.
So, so then what do you do exactly?
I ask better questions.
Of course. That's it.
I ask better questions than...
Seriously, though.
No,
What
seriously. It's about asking questions. And, I set a container, so if my space is a container, a safe container, and, I'm non-judgmental, and they're really doing all the work. I'm just kind of asking questions and getting them to shift their perspective.
How's that different from therapy?
It's definitely not therapy. And I tell people all the time, because I'll have people say, oh my God, Jay, that was like 5 years of therapy in 3 hours. I'm like, no, it's not therapy. It's just, it feels like when you have a breakthrough in therapy. But, we are about action. We're about goals, as far as what I do, the strategy, the coaching. It's about action, goals. It's obstacles, how to get around, get over, blow it up if we have to.
I always joke that if the 9 stages of alchemy, that work that I do, can help someone fly, then, they're still going to need flying lessons.
Yeah.
Just because we free their wings up.
They need a flight instructor for sure. But I always say it's not therapy, it's not psychotherapy, it's not group counseling, it's nothing like that. It's a way to energetically understand how you move through the world, why you do the things you do, the energetic obstacles, so to speak. So
yes.
One of the things I love to tell people about is no blame, no shame, no games. And that's with themselves. This is a place where they really have to be non-judgmental with themselves. And a lot of people really struggle with that.
And I think, it's so different for each person. But most people, they have a few palaces they need to work on. And
some people think they have all of them out of balance, and they don't really know who they are. They're in the job they don't want to be in. They're in the relationship they don't want to be in. They don't have any money. Their health is in the toilet. They're moving around. They don't really have a home. I can go right down the list, and then they don't go anywhere. They don't have any hobbies. And so wisdom, they feel like they don't. A lot of people think they're stupid, which I try to dispel immediately. And then prosperity, we're going to talk about prosperity later, but that's probably the most misunderstood of all the palaces.
Wow.
And that gets shut down early.
Wow,
but we'll talk about
that would be the easiest one.
Yeah, I used to think so, but it's not. It comes up a lot. It definitely comes up.
That makes total sense.
So I think the one theme, since you kind of asked me and I mentioned happiness, I think that let's talk about happiness for a little while.
Yeah.
It's so different for each person, but most people, they want to be happy. I ask them, first question, are you happy? And they usually say yes or no. And then I also do this thing, a questionnaire that we do, and I ask about 9 or 10 different questions. And the last one, and it's 1 through 10, and then happiness. And, it's usually like a 4 or 5 that have people happy on the scale of 4 to 5. So we usually have a lot of work to do then.
That's not that high. Yeah.
No. So if you're going through life and you're 4 or 5 on happiness, you need to do some work, take a look, and get going on things. What are you waiting for?
We all think that something in the future is going to make us happy.
Yeah, well, if you don't change the present with some positive action, then how's it going to change? You're just going to wish it? You're going to just hope it changes? No. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and you're not getting what you want or closer to your goal, but yet you think it's going to happen, what's going to change? You got to figure out what it is you need to change. And that's what we can do when I do my sessions. We talk about that. Otherwise, you're just going to go years and years and years. And I've talked to many people and they're like, oh, you're just going to tell me to quit my job. And I'm like, it doesn't matter to me if you quit your job, but we can talk about this now, or we can talk about it in 3 years from now. I'm okay. It's not, why would it affect me at all if you quit your job or not? It's whether or not you want to quit your job or not.
Right.
So
and don't you have a little quiz that you?
Yeah, I just said the quiz I do. I have the questionnaire that when they first come in,
right,
I have them fill out all these really cool questions that I've kind of tweaked over the years, and it gives me an insight into the 9 palaces that I kind of can look for things that are strong or things that I may need a challenge to work on. And then I do this 1 through 10 on all of the different palaces, and then I usually end with happiness. So, and I have found over time that the average of all the palaces of happiness, 1 through 10, is usually about what happiness is. So if you took the average of the 9 palaces, let's just say a 5, that's what happiness, they usually tell me is a happiness. And they have no idea, but I've done the statistics.
So
it's
pretty
the
accurate.
Average. It's pretty, it's pretty accurate.
So if they're having a really rough time in all of their palaces, their happiness level is going to be really low.
Yes.
And if they're, saying that pretty much all their palaces are doing pretty well, like a 7, 8, or 9,
then they're pretty well.
Then they're going to put 7, 8, or 9 down for their happiness level.
We do that through a conversation on that part of it. But yeah, I have found that overall, by the time I ask them about the happiness, they're like a 4 or 5.
So it seems to me like there's 3 types of people that need life strategy work.
Well, I think everyone needs life strategy.
That's true. You're right.
No, I don't just like to tell people what to do.
But let's just say we could group everyone into 3 groups. How's that sound?
Sure.
So I think the first group is, and this is a really common group that you work with, especially with the younger people, like in their 20s or early 30s, are people who haven't discovered their passion.
Yeah, well, that's true. They think they want a purpose. They know they want to do more. Right. And they maybe had a passion when they were in high school or in college, but then they might have gotten out, took a job. Not really. They've lost their passion. They've kind of had an awakening of what the real world for them could be like, and they start to panic. So I do love to work with young people and get them moving in the right direction. And they tend to say, I'd like to find a direction in my life. And I'm like, well, it's not just laying there on the ground. Or is it? Or is it? Okay, so it could be. So we just talk about what they mean by that. To me, when they write, I want to find a direction, that is kind of a little signal to me that we need to talk about that. Like, what does that mean? Do they think it's luck that people find these great and amazing jobs because they're lucky? So we talk about that.
Well, it reminds me of when I started out in my 20s. I just needed a job, and I got a great job. I was making great money. I was in the corporate world, and I was bored.
Were you happy?
I was not happy.
I get that a lot.
Bored, and we talked about that in our episode 000 of our lives, and it took something to light a fire for me.
Yeah, some people need to be thrust into that, either get fired or, they actually sometimes when they get a big promotion, that's also a catalyst because now they're like, I'm in and I can't get out.
Right.
So it could be, or they could get suddenly fired. Right. Or they could get divorced. That just come home one day from working 60 hours and their partner says, I'm out, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And so that's another, life-changing event.
Right. But if I hadn't discovered Chinese medicine, I'd still be in the corporate world because
you might have been doing something else.
I didn't have a passion. I was just completely lost. And I just happened to read about it and I pursued it. And then,
so finding a passion is definitely one of the things that I talk about with people.
And that's part of stage 1 of alchemy, which is why, the work you're doing goes so well with alchemy, because you can help people discover what that passion is, what the purpose of their life is, what the direction is they want to take. Yeah. And that may take some time.
Yeah, and I also
what do you do with people like that?
I offer resources from things that I might have knowledge on, but I really just get people to think of what's that Shrek when Donkey's talking about the onion? Onions have layers. People have layers, so we start to go through the layers.
For your information, there's a lot more to ogres than people think.
Example?
Example? Okay, ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No.
Oh, they make you cry?
No.
Oh, you leave them out in the sun, they get all brown, start sprouting little white hairs.
No. Layers. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
Oh, you both have layers. Oh. You know, not everybody like onions.
You know, when you're in your 20s and you think you're lost, we know from wisdom and experience that you're just getting started. You would be good if you got this straightened out now. But I do. A lot of people come in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even in their 80s, and they're like, I don't know what my passion is.
Yeah.
I don't know. And, you know, I just watched the Golden Globes a little tiny bit, and Glenn Close was talking about it. She won for The Wife, and she talked about her 89-year-old mother who said to her, I feel like I haven't accomplished anything in my whole life. And Glenn Close was like, that is not right. That is not right. We have to, as women, follow our dreams just as much as men.
Right. Right.
So now that was about a woman being married to a man, or we could just say partners. But in this respect, a woman being subservient almost, but she felt like she wasn't accomplished anything in all those years.
So her relationship palace was getting in the way of her other palaces.
Maybe prosperity, maybe wisdom.
Yeah.
We could just kind of talk about that. And maybe her whole life was stagnant.
Yeah.
She could even had a water crisis, like we don't know, or fire crisis, or all of the yeah. So, but that's exactly what we would do. We would talk about all the different things.
So I was thinking that one thing you do when there's a person who's, doesn't have direction, is trying to find their direction, you get them to go out and experience a lot of different things.
Yes. Yes, because even if they are, like I just said, a water crisis, that means they're frozen. That means they're not trying things. You have to get wisdom through experience, and experience means doing things. So we've talked about this several times. I say positive action is stronger than positive thinking. So I'm going to catch a lot of flack from that, because affirmations, the secret, it's about think it, and it's going to happen. And I think that works totally. But from a strategy, coaching, action is louder than words.
It speaks, action speaks louder than words. Well,
how about positive action is louder than words?
Well, inspired action.
Yes.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
Like, you can have all the positive thinking of your entire life, and nothing will happen if you don't. If you refuse to take action that you feel inspired to take.
Right. And that's the whole, crux of this podcast. Is inspired action. So you can now see where this whole thread is of, positive thoughts and lead to actions, inspired actions, and then things start to shift, perspective shift, identity shift, and then you start to get closer to being authentic, living authentic, getting what you want out of life.
Right. So let's go back to the directionless people again.
Okay.
I mean, I think that you help them see that they need to move out into the world and have experiences. And then we also have them, through alchemy, listen to their higher selves.
Yeah. So if you have no direction and no passion, you need to go have some experiences.
Yeah.
You need to go out there and live a little bit. And I know that sounds easy. People are like, I have no money, I don't have a job, I don't have this, I don't have that. That's a story that you're telling yourself. You need to, really look at what you're telling yourself and how you can get some experience. And, another thing I say, this really applies if you're just, trying to figure things out. You may not know what you want to do, but you certainly should know what you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's great.
And that also comes from experience.
Yeah, if you don't like waiting tables, you don't want to do that the rest of your life.
So you try something new. You try something different. So and I think that's a really important thing to think about when you're doing DIY yourself for this.
Yeah.
And then another thing I'd like to talk about is the perspective shifts. If you are saying, I just have dead-end job after dead-end job after dead-end job, that's a story. We need to shift that perspective. What is really going on here? And why would you expect a different outcome if you're doing the same kind of job over and over and over?
That's true.
So I think perspective shift, identity shift. We talk about identity all the time. I can't wait. I know we have a future shows planned on this identity thing, but identity is, very, very important when you do a strategy. It's about stories that you tell yourself on what other people think of you, what other people see you as, how you see yourself, how you think of yourself, and that is a very, very, very delicate subject with people.
Right.
We start to shift it away and people start to cry, they start to melt. They're just like, whoa, what is happening here?
Wow, it's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful because, it's about being honest with yourself. That's the next thing we can talk about, honesty.
Yes, Now, we've talked about the people who don't have direction.
Which is
or
a lot of
purpose,
people.
Which is a lot of
But
people.
not everyone.
But we also have people who do know what their passion is and they can't manifest it. They're doing their dead-end job that they hate and they love this other thing. Their fire is lit. They're on fire about it,
Well,
but they can't get there.
Yeah, I see this a lot. And this is when I talk a lot about dabbling or all in. So if you're working as an accountant and you're doing it and you're making good money and you're not happy and all you want to do is play music, and let's just say you're a drummer, and so you drum when you can and then you take a year or two off and you don't do it because you're working, and then you pick it up again, and then you're alive again, and so you're like, this is my passion, I love it. So if you would want to turn that into a career, then you'd have to take steps towards that. And you'd be like, oh, no one's ever going to pay me to be a drummer.
That's a story.
That's a story. And there's drummers out there. Do they do it for free? No. Do they teach? Yes. There's so many different things that you could do if you really wanted to drum. What I try to do is get people to talk about, is it a hobby or is it truly a career path? Is it something that you want to, dabble in and keep doing that? That might make you happy. Or do you want to commit and go all in?
Yeah.
And that could take time, but there's a strategy that you can create to get you towards your goal. And that's what I do with a lot of people.
Yeah, because some people just like they're on fire, but it's a hobby.
Yeah, and that's okay. You can dabble all day long.
Yeah.
But to be nicer to yourself and let yourself finally decide that you're not going to pursue it as a career. That can be freeing to people.
That's like when you decided you loved encaustic painting.
Yeah, I love it.
You were all in for like
a couple years.
And then you were like starting to show the work.
And it was really fun and exciting. And I was like, wow, people were really positive. And then I said, do I really want to do this as a career? Do I want to go to different shows? Do I want to go to different galleries? Do I want to go to all these fairs? And then it kind of changed. My perspective shifted. Now I still love to paint. I still love to do encaustics, but I don't want that as a career.
Right.
Like I didn't want to shift all the other things.
You're passionate about it, but not that passionate.
Right. Passionate. Yeah. And I love it. And I think that there's some people who have a lot of hobbies. That's great. It keeps them excited and they love to do things. But, I personally don't feel like I have a career palace challenge right now.
Right.
So I'm very happy. But it could be also under creativity.
Right.
Children.
There you go.
So yeah, you can have a lot of different things.
So it's fulfilling. One of the palaces.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's a lot of people, when they start to understand that they could have a hobby or a passion, and
that's
still
creative,
have a life.
But it might not be their career.
Right. So that's a big thing. And that frees a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then the kind of the ironic thing of that is many times when we discover that and they decided to be a hobby, a year or two later, guess what? They've decided it wants to be a career now. Because they really have been falling in love doing it again. And they took that pressure off and they got a lot of good stuff out of it. And now they're
having
to
make money from something that you are passionate about could be a problem.
They give up trying to make money or doing something with their degree. I hear that a lot. I have this art degree. I have this music thing, and they don't know what to do with it. So they've had this monkey on their back for 10, 20 years, and they have been torturing themselves. And then they let it go and it frees up and they start to really open their heart and experience it again. And then they might have a shift.
That's awesome.
Or they just keep it as a hobby.
And I think there's a third group that needs life strategy, and that is people who are doing their passion.
Okay.
But they're still sort of stuck, like they have a lot of strategic issues.
Yes, I do see this a lot, and I think for when I talk with people about these issues, it's usually a career palace is set or a relationship palace is set, but then some of the other palaces are not. Health could be off, and that's affecting their happiness. The wealth palace is good, but yet they might feel like they have no travel. They have no creativity. They have no adventure.
Oh, you know what it is?
The other palaces are off.
Yeah, it's like they got so, their fire was so lit that that's all they did.
Yeah, that's all they do. So they're like, I have all this, but guess what? I'm not happy.
They didn't get balance.
They didn't find the balance.
That's it.
So they have they have this great job, and they have the cars and the house, and guess what? They just have money.
They're not happy.
Yeah. So we talk about that, and that could be huge for people.
And they could be doing the career they love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They have a great job. They love their job, and they love the freedom of the wealth, but they haven't quite figured out the other parts. So we work on that. I see that every once in a while. And usually people who are in mid-career or later in their career. But I do see it. I don't see that a lot in young people. Although I do see it every once in a while when a young person lands a really great job and then they're still not happy.
Yeah.
And they thought it was the one. And then they find out, it's not what I thought. And that's a good place to stop. But wait, before we go, we have a couple things we'd like to chat about.
Yes, we're going to continue this conversation in our next podcast.
Yay! We have a lot to talk about.
And we're going to take a really deep dive into what listeners can do for themselves to create their own life strategy, a kind of do-it-yourself life strategizing approach.
And if you want to hear a little bit more about something that's not quite do-it-yourself, although it has a little bit of self-participation.
Yes, we are very excited. We talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the podcast about our new Master Alchemy program.
And this is going to be for a small group of will want to be alchemists that'll not only start your alchemical journey, but you could also illuminate a clear path for the rest of your life to begin, to go on.
Yeah, and there's 3 tracks in this program. There's a healer's track for acupuncturists or acupressurists or other kinds of healers that have a practice, and then there's a life strategist track.
Yay!
And that's the track that'll work a little more closely with Jay, and a self-cultivation track.
And that's really the one that people have just been jumping on board for the self-cultivation one. And I think that'll go hand in hand a lot with the podcast as well. And this is going to be an active immersion. I am ready to do the work, life-changing, identity-shifting, permission to be yourself kind of program.
All right. And we're just really excited because a lot of people who are really into the podcast have been asking for more. And so
this is years in the making.
Yeah.
We just decided to roll it out for 2019. We have many components that we're going to share with you and teach with you as this year unfolds. So if you're interested, if something has struck a chord, if you're ready to make the changes in your life,
yes, this
is a great thing to look at. Just look at it. See if you're in alignment with it.
So check it out. It's at inspiredactionpodcast.com/MAP, M-A-P, which is Master Alchemy Program.
And I just want to say it's application only. It's not for everyone. It's like a specialty thing. But if it rings true and you're like, so far people that have responded are like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I need to do. This is what I'm called to do. So if those are your kind of responses after you check out the website, then click the button that says, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
And the other thing I wanted to remind people about is we have now an app.
Yay! So that was a long time in the making.
You can listen to the podcast. You can go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the app. And it's kind of nice. I like it a lot.
It's going to grow. We're going to add a lot of stuff to it. So it's in its very beginner baby steps, or stages, I should say right now. But we have big plans for the app. And as the year unfolds, we're also going to be working with the app people on making that really accessible, really easy to use. We're going to have a lot of bonus stuff included, plus all the meditations will be on there, a lot of new stuff, and just some surprises we have planned for along the way.
Yes.
So a lot going on. Woohoo! And stay with us for 2019. We'd just have a lot of cool things we want to talk about.
Yes. And we're really excited about the next podcast. So join us for more on life strategies and how to do it yourself.
So if you have any questions, send us to questions@inspiredactionpodcast.com. And if we use them, you're going to get a super cool t-shirt, which I am now wearing.
Yes.
We had a wardrobe.
You changed your shirt in the middle.
We had a wardrobe change in the middle. And I don't want to even talk about it, but I am wearing it right now, and I was not when we started this show. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
Bye. You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.